With Brutal and Cunning finally hitting the shelves and everyone being able to get it, I've been making my video content around it, and it gives me another opportunity to do orcs on my channel. I've done orcs a couple times before, and every time I do an orc video, everyone is really interested in the style in which I like to do 40k orcs in. And that is that I push away from the kind of cartoony, bright, vibrant green tones, and I go for something a little bit more realistic, which I know sounds a little bit weird for something so made up as an orc, but trust me, the process works, and I think the models look awesome and terrifying at the end of it. So instead of going into full detail on how you paint the orcs in this box set, we are solely going to focus on the skin and getting that looking really nice and really vicious. I just want to say that I have absolutely nothing against the kind of cartoony green style orcs, the bright and vibrant ones. I really like that too. I'm doing my old world orcs in that skin as well, but I find that 40k orcs kind of get pushed to the side of being like comedic relief, and I don't think they're that at all. I think they're a terrifying race of aliens, and I think they deserve to look the part. Before I get into the video though, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of my active patrons. Without you guys, I literally could not continue doing what I'm doing. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for everyone that has stuck around and everyone that has signed up in the last week or two. If you guys want to check it out for yourself, it's linked down in the description below. You get access to a private Discord server where you can talk to me on a daily basis about your hobby and join in on all the extra events that we do over there. And also you get an extra video every single week just for you. This week's extra video will be from Brutal and Cunning, and it will be how to paint the awesome battle pug. So if you want to learn how to paint an awesome little war dog, check out the Patreon. Okay, without further ado, let's dive in, work on some Ork Skin. Okay, so these are the amazing new tank buster models from the new Brutal and Cunning Kill Team box. I'm sure they'll come out by themselves in the future and will just be tank busters for your orc army for 40k. Incredible models, incredible sculpts, and the perfect ones to use for this particular video. Like I said, I was planning on doing just a normal Kill Team how to paint tank busters video, but I did remember that I do get constantly asked how I do my orc skin and how to do it in more detail and stuff like that, and why I go for the kind of tones that I do. So I'm going to show it all in this video in depth, talk through every process, every step a little bit more than I would normally in a video, and hopefully by the end of it you'll have a better understanding of how and why I do my orc skin the way I do. So obviously the model was sprayed black and then sprayed light gray like I do for pretty much all the miniatures that I'm going to be painting. I've got a whole video on how I do spraying, so if you're wondering how I got it from the gray plastic to what it is right now, I will leave a link down below so you can check out that video for yourself. But after this stage, we move over to Plague Bearer Flesh. And I make sure to get a nice solid coat of this with contrast all over the skin. So Plague Bearer Flesh is a green tone. It's a great way to start your orc skin because it also has a little bit of brown to it, which is a lot more natural than the kind of orc flesh contrast or anything that you're going to do already. The idea is to try and make them not look like toys, if that makes sense. I like the more hyper realism. And the reason I do enjoy the more hyper realism for the orcs is that whole concept that they have kind of become this joke of an army, like they're kind of all silly and stuff like that. But like I read a lot of Black Library novels, like most orc novels that have ever come out I've read, and not once have they ever been a joke. They are a terrifying enemy on the Imperium. They are terrifying to fight when they're running towards your emplacements or your castle walls or into your bunkers or your trenches. Nightmare fuel. They're a horrid thing to have to try and face, and I always like to convey that in the armies that I'm creating and have that army feel that way, that terrifying sense of dread. After the Plague Bearer Flesh is fully dried, we are going to go for Berserker Bloodshade, and this is to add a little bit more warmth and push the green tone a little bit more to a slightly kind of more natural ready tone. So Berserker Bloodshade is a great way to do that. So once again, it's another solid coat, Berserker Bloodshade, all over every piece of the skin. Now be careful when you're painting orcs that you do get all of the skin. There can be extra little bits. You'll notice like the shirt is torn on his back and there's a little hole in it and you can see his back through it and you don't realize until you're at the end point of painting, and it gets really annoying. It's happened to me more than once. Interesting, like on this guy here, at the back of his greaves, the strap's holding his vambrace on. There's a gap between it. It's not a full strap, so make sure you get in there and get that with the green so you don't miss out. Okay, once those tones are finally in place and dry, we're left with this, which is a really nice starting point. Like that's a really solid base coat to then highlight on top of. So we're going to go for a 3-stage highlight. We're going to start with Strachan Green. Now, the important thing to note is that these 3 stages that I'm about to do are exactly the same. Like the color gets slightly brighter and more pallid, but the effect we're trying to get is exactly the same. It's just less each time. So one of the important things to remember when you're doing the highlights is to leave space for the next highlight, if that makes sense. So for instance, as you've seen there, when I'm layering the bottom jaw there, I'm getting most of the bottom jaw most of the eyebrows, most of the nose, you know, most of the lips, chin. Like when you're painting the bicep, you're leaving a very small amount of that kind of reddy green behind. We're leaving it behind in the deep recesses. But any of those bulging bits going forward, you want to basically hit it with a lot of the Strachan green. Orks are also an absolutely fantastic miniature to learn how to paint flesh on, because they are quite similar to humans. I know it's a bit weird, but they do have the same kind of musculature. You know, the face still has a chin and a nose and ears and a forehead and all, but they're much more predominant. So it's much easier to learn where to place highlights and how much to highlight and stuff like that. Like if you painted 10 or 20 orc heads, and then you went back and painted, like, you know, a human head, you would be better at painting the human head than you were before you started painting the orc face. So just something to keep in mind. So you'll notice here that we are going across the tops of the muscles, and I'm choosing the direction. Obviously, when it's on the other side and it's like a bulging bicep, we can go across it. But when it's a shoulder here and the arm is straight forward, it's in tension, then the muscle is being pulled downwards, as in down towards his wrist. So we want to highlight in the same direction that the kind of muscle is being stretched, or else it's going to look a little bit weird and a little bit unnatural. Okay, already that's made a huge difference. So now we're going to jump up to Ogren Camo, which is the mid-tone of the highlight stages. And we are going to do exactly the same step we did, like I said, but just less. So I'm going to keep starting in the same place. I'm going to start with his lips and his chin and stuff. And even if you notice how much more careful I'm being with the brush, I'm definitely just working with the kind of tip, highlighting and a small amount. We're going to go across his jaw and stuff. And it's very calculated, the amount. I basically want to make sure that I leave some of the previous layer behind and have enough space to put the final highlight on in a minute. But doing so many kind of scratchy textures and scratchy layers, like I'm not trying to get smooth blends. This isn't like super watery glazed paints or anything like that. When you're doing this like scratchy technique that you can see here, you're leaving a lot of texture behind, which is exactly what you're looking for. It's what Ork Skin will look like up close and personal. It will be very textured. It will be very kind of mottled, lots of greens and browns showing through the skin. There used to be an orc head mounted to the wall in Warhammer World, and I used to look at that thing for a long time every time I went there. I actually used to do this thing. It's still hanging up somewhere in Warhammer World. I'm not 100% sure. But I used to play this game, and every time I brought someone there, I made sure they did the same thing. And it was to step up to the orc on the wall, lower yourself down so that orc head is kind of look just above your forehead, and then just stare at it as close as you can. And then that's going to be what you're seeing when you're fighting an orc. And I tell you, that will give you a new respect for anyone fighting orcs. Okay, as you can see, I'm going along the kind of stretchy parts of the neck. You can see what I mean now with that scratchy textured highlights. Ork Skin is looking really nice, but not like clean, not smooth, none of that. That's not what you're after. And like I said, I am going through the whole process. I'm painting all 6 of the orcs from this kill team at the same time, getting all their skin done, having a lot of fun doing it. It's Krieg Khaki being the final highlight for this. And once again, we're going to go with that like really, really fine, much more controlled. You can see me moving slower, definitely picking out where each line is going to go across the lips and chin, nose, forehead, all that kind of bits and pieces. And this will really just make it jump off. This will make the skin just be popping and look really nice, really clean, and look awesome. It's the final highlight for this miniature. And like I said, I was doing these guys yesterday. Last night was my stream. So when I was finished doing all the skin, I just got to take the models into my stream, and I started layering them up, the rest of the parts there. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. If you want to see these guys painted up even more, I will be working on them, continuing to work on them on my stream tomorrow. I do stream every single Tuesday and Thursday on YouTube and on Twitch. If you're kind of keen to hang out, talk hobby, and get involved with a nice community, we stream 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Irish time every single Tuesday and Thursday, and you are all more than welcome to join in, jump in, say hello. Everyone is super friendly, and mostly I just get berated, and we get some hobby done, so it's good fun. When I say we, I mean everyone in the community is all sitting there doing hobby together and having good chats, so yeah. As you can see, going in with those lines again, going along, going to go like the wrist and the hand, bicep, all those kind of bits and pieces across the tips of the knuckles. And I actually learned this painting scheme, like it was developed with me and the people on my stream. We were going through learning how to paint a Rebel Grot model. So yeah, this is definitely a collaborative effort from them. That was done, I think, over 2 years ago now. And ever since then, I've been painting up Ork Skin like this. And I thoroughly enjoy the process. It's actually a lot of fun to go through each of these stages and get them painted up. And I love it. I know it's a lot of work for Ork Skin, and considering an Ork army is usually a horde, but if you put effort into one piece of an Ork army, let it be the skin, and everything else will just fall into place around it. So here's the finished result of the knob. And like I said, I think he looks amazing. I love how the face looks. The rest of the body looks fantastic. He's just ready to have the rest of the model worked on. One of the Smasher, the Breaker Boys are these guys known as, the ones with the big sledgehammers. And you can see the amount of depth and detail that does exist inside of these awesome sculpts that really comes to life with a scheme like this. I would love to know what your thoughts are on this. Like I said, do you have a preference for Ork Skin? Do you prefer the bright, vibrant green, which is totally fine. I love that scheme as well. Don't get me wrong. That's my fantasy Orks, all of that kind of thing. But for 40k, it's grim, it's dark, it's gritty, and I want it to feel that way and stay that way. But I would still love to know what you think of this and what you paint your Orks like. Okay guys, and there we have it. The skin is now complete on my entire kill team from Brutal and Cunning for the Orks. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this style of painting Ork Skin. You can kind of see what I meant by the more brutal, more realistic version. Basically it's the tones from like Dawn of War. Remember that original intro video that had us all captivated for years? Those were the Orks that are truly terrifying, and those have those kind of dark, richer skin, not really bright and green. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on my process and what do you think about this skin tone as a whole. Please do make sure you give the video a like, ask me any questions below, and make sure you're subscribed. Those are 3 tiny little things you should do if you enjoy watching someone's videos on YouTube. It means nothing to you, costs you absolutely nothing except for 2 seconds out of your day, but it means the world to us, our growth, and how many people get to see our videos. Thank you so much for sticking around at the end of the video, guys. I'll see you in the next one.